How do you kick someone off the worship team?
Well,
In a little context,
yeah.
What if you inherit a worship ministry?
Oh man,
And
those are different questions.
Yeah. So you inherit a worship ministry, and you're trying to establish standards, and it becomes clear that there's a mismatch between a team member standard or even culture.
Oh yeah.
So how have you gone through those transitions, or have you never had to deal with that?
Oh, buddy, I've dealt with it. How have I gone through it? Well and not well.
Yeah.
I've done it all. I've done it right, and I've done it really wrong. I'll tell you about some of them. But let me answer the first question first before I go into the team you inherit, because I think that the thoughts on that will fold into maybe a bigger picture thing, okay? So just in how do you kick somebody off the team, in a word, carefully. This isn't talent that you're dealing with. It's people that you're dealing with. So remember that first. Then the reasons why you're kicking somebody off the team vary widely, and they drive the steps that are involved after that point in time. So a reason why you might kick somebody off the team, one could be conduct or a moral reason that they're not living up to your standard, or you find out something about their personal life, ranging from substance abuse, ranging from, hey, they just moved in with their partner and they're not married, and that might just be a total no-go in your organization. If it's a moral thing like that, I'm not just dealing with a talented person. I'm not just dealing with a talented someone on my team. I'm dealing with a person. So I'm going to keep pastoral care at the forefront of that thing. How do you dismiss that person? Through a series of conversations where you try to discover a repentant heart. Hey, I'm set here as your leadership, and I've noticed this about you, or somebody brought it to us, or maybe they're coming to you, which is the best case scenario. Hey, I just feel so guilty because I thought I laid this habit down, and after 2 years, I've picked it back up again. For the past 6 months, I've been going back to that and drinking from that well. Help me. That's the best case scenario, because then you're just able to say, hey, let's sit you for a while. There's some strategy around that too, though. What I would love to do is sit somebody from serving, not kick someone off the team. Does that make sense? So we've done this multiple times. I've done this over the past 17 years of full-time ministry. I have said, hey, for reason X, Y, or Z, we're going to have you take a seat from serving on platform. And that could even be another distinction, because the platform carries some weight, and maybe you say, hey, you're going to stop serving on platform, but we would love for you to shift to production for a season so that you're still around, so that you're still available, not because we have a need at production, but because you have a need to be a part of this community. And you came to us with a sin or an error or a habit or a mistake, and we don't want to kick you to the curb for those reasons. We want to still include you, but we want to include you in a way that doesn't harm other people from the church who saw what you posted on Facebook. You know what I mean? So there's way one that you might kick somebody off the team. If it's somebody is an angel, but it's a talent or a skill thing, that's really, really difficult. But I just think Andy Stanley's right. Clarity is kindness. And what I've seen too often is when somebody isn't measuring up in skill, we just punt them down the depth chart. And maybe that's reasonable. Maybe it is, but you go from somebody singing a song every other week to all of a sudden over the past 6 months, God added 3 incredible vocalists to your team, and 2 of them were staff worship leaders. And now they just want to serve because they're starting a company, but they love to serve. And all of a sudden that person who used to lead every other week now doesn't really get to lead a song ever. If that person needs to get kicked off of the team, it's hard for me to imagine a scenario where somebody would have been good enough to serve consistently and then not. But if that is the case and your team is just growing and your church is growing and they no longer measure up to the standard, don't just relegate them down the depth chart because you're going to think you're doing the right thing, by keeping them on the team. What you don't realize is you are forcing them into a season of introspection, of wondering, why am I not good enough? Why am I losing opportunity? And now they're showing up to serve, but they're showing up bitter.
Yeah. Yep.
Who is that good for? It isn't good for your culture. It isn't good for your team. Now, maybe the first thing you do is don't kick them off the team. Maybe you go to, I don't know, I'll call her Caitlin, and she's been serving that church for 20 years, but her voice isn't quite what it used to be, and the team has grown around her, and she's no longer one of your lead out kind of vocalists. I think it's okay to go to that person and say, hey, thank you so much for the way that you've served for so long. I don't want to try to throw the baby out with the bathwater here, but I just want you to know, moving forward, your opportunities to lead on songs will be non-existent. It's not going to be in the cards for you. We've got other people that can do that better. But I still value your role on the team, from the leadership that you give, from the stage presence you embody. Like, even if you're not the person leading the song, the way that you lead in worship helps our room. So maybe there's a case to say, we do keep that person on the team. Also, I think it's instrument specific. Some people are harder to hide. A vocalist, Vox 5, you do what you got to do with Vox 5. Drummer, you can't hide the drummer.
No.
It's like the point guard on a basketball team.
Yeah.
I can't hide you. You're out there in front of everyone. So those are some thoughts on how to get rid of people in different dynamics. If it's a team you inherited, the way that that's different than what I talked about is go slow. Go slow. And this is an area where I have made a mistake. I came on staff at a church that was behind where I wanted them to be. It didn't fit the vision of worship ministry that I had. We didn't have a bass player. Instead, we had 2 trombone players. Like, that's just the reality of where we were. I had a drummer on that team. I had 2 drummers, and they were part of the same family. I'm going to be vulnerable here and tell you a time that I got it really, really wrong. I came to that team and I said, hey, in 3 months, here are some tangible things that I want our team to get to. So I thought I was doing good leadership stuff. I was clear. I set a timeline, all this kind of stuff that seemed right. To be specific, we were on wedges. And I wanted to get us on in-ears. When you're on wedges, you can't use Ableton. You can't use a click. You are limited in a lot of what you can do whenever you're on wedges. So I wanted to move us to ears and Ableton and click. Well, to be able to do Ableton and a click, that's a lot of pressure on a drummer that's never operated in that system. Because a lot of times, first of all, now your drummer has to play to a click, and maybe they never have. And second of all, they're most often the time, at least in the context I'm in, the drummer's the person that's running Ableton too. Is that the case at where you are? A lot of times it's the drummer, or sometimes keys player, but a lot of times it's the drummer that's running the Ableton as well. So I thought I was being kind by saying, hey, here's the clear vision. Here's where we're headed. Here's a reasonable timeline. So I put pressure on those 2 drummers. One rose to the occasion because he was a young guy in his 20s that had time to give it. Another guy was an older, not older, I'm about to turn 40. He was in his 40s, but he was a leader at a company. He owned a family business. He had kids that were thriving in college, soon to be college athletics. His daughter went on to play college athletics. I failed to appreciate him well. And when 3 months came up and he didn't have the time to grow in his skill fast enough, I had a conversation that I thought I did the right thing. I went to him and just kind of said, hey man, it's not working out. And about a year later, we still had a great relationship, but he pulled me to the side one day and he kind of challenged me on the way that I handled that. And he gave me a look inside of his world. And I'm going to tell you, I got that situation wrong. At that church, we were not a global worship platform. We didn't have the preferences, the pressure of conferences and tours staring down our backs. We didn't have that pressure. Me putting a timeline on him that was 3 months, the same as I put on the younger individual, wasn't fair. I wasn't taking his world into account. I wasn't taking how much he had given to that ministry into account. And so am I saying great on the curve? Yeah. For most churches, for most scenarios, I am. What I should have done I should have painted with a more fine brush and less of a broad brush. I should have gone to the young guy and said, hey, here's what I need from you. You've got the time to give it. In 3 months, I need you on a click.
Yeah.
But I should have made space with the size and scope of that ministry where we were to have grace for the other guy too. And I should have said, hey, you're able to get there in 3 months, but for you, we'll take it slowly and let's get you there over the course of the next 9 months or a year, and give him an opportunity to see that I was gracious and moving in his direction and caring for him by taking his situation into account. And practically, there's a lot, looking back on it now, there's so much that I could have done. I could have said, hey, you don't have the time to give it, so I'm going to let the other guy play 3 weeks out of the month and you play the 4th week out of the month. That's still clear, but it's still keeping him connected. I could have also said, hey, whenever you're the drummer that's on, we're going to do the full send, Click, and Ableton thing. But when you're the drummer that's on, we're going to do a stripped back set. Or I'm going to go to my the pastor of our church, and I'm going to say, hey, every 4th week when this guy serves, it's a great opportunity to do something different with that time than an extra song. Because maybe by giving him 3 songs instead of 4, it helps him multiply the time that he can give to make the 3 songs great. Does that make sense? And so then I'm able to have a holistic picture that cares for that individual, go to my pastor and say, hey, on the weeks where he's playing, we don't take communion every week. Takes about 4 to 5 minutes. That's about the length of a song. What if on those weeks we were strategic and said, let's take communion as a church? See how we're doing multiple things all the time? We're looking at leaders look in layers. So now I'm not just caring for that person, but man, we would love to take communion, but we don't always have time in our services to fit it in. That's a real thing. Well, no, actually, something in the natural helped us get to something in the spiritual. I'm taking care of this individual, but also, what if we open up the playbook for 5 extra minutes in a service once a month? Is it a video? Is it a testimony? Is it a time to take a little longer and teach on tithes and offerings or giving? Is it a time to do something out of the ordinary that can then become a part of your new cadence while you're settling into grace for an individual? I think for most churches, that's the better approach. When I was 24, I got it wrong. At 38, I hope I'm getting it a little more right.